Raphael, can you resolve the situation? Resolving situation. Raphael, can you get rid of this curse? Okay, got rid of the curse. Can you just go ahead and unite the entire Western nations under me and let's all have peace? Okay, confirmed doing that. It's like Raphael's so OP. It's like, let's just resolve all the situations for you. I mean, they kind of did that with the whole meeting, the whole like, do you want me to get rid of it? Yeah, sure. Snap, it gets rid of it. Like, just how OP this thing is. But I do love that having these little moments where suddenly Remedu's like, wait, hold on. There's some information I don't know. It's like Raphael's supposed to be working for him and doing all this computing. It's basically like this massive computing thing that is, with this situation, obviously, is taking all this information, all these hints, all this, different stuff that is picked up over time, evidence, and sort of bringing it together to come to conclusion. And then eventually, again, prodding at Glenda to get some sort of admittance there to confirm it. But like having these little moments where Remedu's like, wait, go back. When did we establish that with the whole unique skill and stuff? That's news to me. I love having these little moments that completely trips him up with it and just how brilliant it is at computing all this information. But overall, solid episode. I did find a lot of these little kind of reveals to be interesting, especially around, again, when I said there that kind of threw Remedu off was the unique skill aspect. That, yes, there's these hints at something that's happening here with this greed and this unique skill, but Glenda specifically was not somebody that could be fully controlled because of the unique skill. Because this unique skill itself is sort of like preserving her soul, which pretty much feeds into my theory around Yuki. Again, I don't think Yuki's fully under control. I think this is pretty much confirmed, though it's odd that later on in the episode, although they say this, that Glenda later on says that Yuki is fully under control. I'm pretty sure that Yuki has a unique skill. I think that they've said that. I'm not 100%. I know that I don't think they've ever actually shown what his ability is. Again, for those that know, I don't need to know. So that would imply that he is not fully under control of Marbell. Unless, again, I'm misremembering here, but we'll, again, obviously see eventually, but that sort of gives me a little bit of hope there that he's going to eventually pull the rug out from underneath Marbell. I don't think that he's fully under control. I think he's playing into it, and it's possibly that there is a side of it that is him sort of having fear. There was an interesting comment that was made by Glenda at some point, that they, upon being summoned to this world, have like the curse already tied in with them, that they have to listen to Marbell. I wonder if that's true, or if that was something that Marbell herself made up to make Glenda have to fear her initially to stick around her long enough to be fully controlled. I wonder, because if it is true, that would explain why Yuki would play into it and eventually, again, have somewhat of his mind being controlled by her. And it would also lead us to actually have some sort of like not zero fear of, Remedu going up against Marbell. That Marbell does have like an innate ability to control isekais in some way because there's a fear of destroying their soul. Because yes, shattering and destroying the soul is going to be the biggest fear here. I mean, we have sort of created this lack of fear of ever having a character die ever again because Shuna can resurrect people, Hinata can resurrect people. Like, there's no, like, anybody dying at this point, like, shrug, who cares? You can just bring them back. It's like the Dragon Ball situation. When Goku dies in Dragon Ball Z, you're like, well, get the Dragon Balls together again. We're going to resurrect them again. Here we have the same situation. No death in this story matters anymore because they can just bring him back. Unless Shuna and, Hinata's tied up somewhere. I'm sure Remedu can do it as well. He's done it before. So there is the ability to resurrect in this world, but there's still a fear because if you shatter the soul, it's done. I mean, Glenda even confirms that. When they first start interrogating her, what does she say? Kill me. So why does later on is she afraid of Marbell? Well, because when she said kill me, she thought it was just them killing her body, and she can go off somewhere else with her soul. The fear that she has of Marbell is that Marbell will destroy her soul. And like they say, we can't resurrect that. We can bring your body back so your soul can go back into it, but if your soul's gone, we can't fix that. The resurrection's for this, not for that. So there is still like a fear here that Marbell does have some ability to harm some people. So we'll see if that plays in anything. But overall, pretty solid episode. Let me go through piece by piece so I don't forget anything. But we had pretty much the opening segment. We had Soei versus Glenda. Some really cool stuff that was going to be revealed here, getting into the body double and specifically her abilities, which was interesting to see that she was confirmed to be an isekai eventually with the whole conversation. But I was still under the impression that she potentially was using somebody else's guns, but we're establishing here that she's an isekai. She formed this thing, from her memories. So she made the gun, everything from her memories. And she's using her own abilities here to magically infuse it to get the upper hand on Soei. Pretty cool stuff here. Eventually getting into Soei, showing off all of his body doubles and how they're like a partial of his full power. Now, granted, we're not seeing Soei's full potential here yet because, he's not really trying here. He's just trying to test Glenda. Like at some point he's like, yeah, I was just kind of playing into it to see what you would do. Oh, that's cool. Let's show Ruben the rest of it. Let's be done with this. I'm not going to keep him too long here. just completely wrecking her with all these body doubles. But anyways, we cut over to seeing Rimuru, and he's exhausted after the meeting. There's a little bit where like Shuna and Hinata's like, no, we didn't lose our cool. We were just correcting them. Their manners were bad, so we had to correct their manners. In front of you, we had to correct it. I'm glad that Benimaru was able to keep it under control. No, I was going to torch the whole place. I'm just kidding. It was so dorky. Anyways, yes, eventually Soei showing up, showing everybody what they've seen, and Hinata speaking up. Yeah, I know who Glenda is. Yep, she was keeping her powers under wrap for quite a while now. But no, this one got over to the interrogation, which, yeah, this was a very interesting little bit here. Again, activate. Well, first, Hinata goes up there to interrogate, gets nothing out of her. Again, pretty much just says, just kill me. It's not going to work out. But then eventually bringing up, did you believe in Lady Luminous? To which Glenda replies, pretty much, no, but if you pay me to. I think that's what it's sort of implying there. The wording there was a little bit weird to me, but yeah, it like feels like, if you pay me to, I will. Which this is interesting because we do eventually find out that Glenda's belief is still technically there. Like at some point she wanted to believe that she could be saved by a god. But it seems like because of the influence of Marbell and the situation that she was in, it kind of forced her to have to step away from it. So there is an element here where it does seem like she does actually care. And I mean, it seems like later on, it almost feels like she's obsessed with Rimuru now. Like she's worshiping Rimuru by the end of this whole thing. Like she wants to serve Rimuru. She wants to praise him and everything. But it's sad because it feels like she did want to serve Luminous. It just, because of the situation, she wasn't able to. But yeah, right here, pretty much just ticking off Hinata because she's denying it, disrespecting Luminous, and sets off Hinata. But no, that's when I want to say Rimuru. I even have it in my notes that it's Rimuru's turn, but it's not really Rimuru. It's Raphael. Raphael steps up to interrogate at this point, which again, we get into the whole idea of the unique skills, how he's able to sense that there's this unique skill that's being activated and sort of trace it in a way. But additionally, getting into the fact that because he sensed that there was all these over here that were, filled with greed, and you were filled with greed, that you were under the same effect as that, but specifically because she has a unique skill, it's not a full control for her, which is, again, was very, very interesting. It kind of opens the door to, again, the potential that those with at least unique skills will never be fully controlled by Marbell. Though it does seem like, again, based on how much control they had of Glenda, it's still a lot of control there. There's still a lot of fear there. Again, I kind of wonder if a lot of that is just Glenda's innate fear of that shattering of the soul, which I don't know if that's going to be 100% true at this point. I still kind of wonder if that is a lie. Though it could be that is sort of, again, another way of expressing the shattering that Marbell was talking about in her story. That individuals that if she brute forces to control them, she breaks them. But I think that was a lot to do with the mind, not necessarily the soul. So I'm going to probably just discard that thought. Anyways, following this, we get into sort of the conclusion that Raphael comes to, which is that this is all being done by Marbell. Now, I kind of wonder how that came to that conclusion. It does talk about the idea that with the appraisal skill, they're able to sort of know when the skill exists, tell when they're trying to hide it, yada, yada, yada. I'm kind of assuming that based on the information about how, especially at the festival, there was so many people that were controlled by this specific greed that they knew that somebody there was doing it and knew that Marbell was there. So it's like this aspect of kind of just seeing them present. They were in the location. There was a lot of people there that was, controlled. And again, she was in that room, and knowing that they were hiding something, they come to the conclusion that it's got to be this person. And then they take that sort of conclusion, present it to Glenda, and Glenda confirms it. Glenda's reaction confirms the situation. And that's when they kind of come to the conclusion that it's Marbell. Now, this is kind of, again, the point in which they go, oh, yeah, Marbell Rosso, the Rosso family's involved, the head is Granville, and Granville's dead. And again, that was the point where I'm like, wait, oh, that's right, they don't actually know. They don't actually know. It's kind of one of those difficulties in this story, especially with Tensura, is having so many characters and having so many meetings that sometimes I get kind of mixed up about who knows what. Despite the fact that we have so many damn meetings, there is an element here where like some people so casually talk to certain individuals that it's kind of a shocking that not everybody knows. Like with Johan is in there. Johan is in there talking about Granville, and it's like I could totally see Johan's spilling the beans to somebody else that Granville's still alive or something like that. But yeah, everybody in this room technically doesn't even know that he's still alive. The last that we seen was that Nicholas guy or whatever that's obsessed with Hinata, like nuked who they thought was Granville, and then again Granville's soul kind of just seeped into his body. And that's what we see in this whole situation was like, oh yeah, Glenda's like, you all think that he's dead. He's not actually dead. He's not actually dead. But yeah, in response to this, Glenda thinks that she's going to get her soul shattered again because she's afraid that she's betrayed Marbell, and this is the whole reason why she's been sticking to this. And again, getting into right here, that issue where, yeah, she wanted to rely on Luminous, she wanted to rely and lean on a god's grace, but she couldn't escape the curse. Again, this is something that she felt, again, she's saying here, that upon arriving here, that's already present, and that she can shatter their souls. Something that a true god's mercy can't fix. Again, I think there's sort of an answer here as to why Glenda would choose to go against Luminous, when Luminous is, in fact, best girl. Luminous is, of course, best waifu of the show. Yeah, Raphael gets rid of the curse, and immediately Glenda wants to join the harem. Wants to be in yet another person underneath Rimuru. Glenda reveals that Granville's still alive, but interesting, says, I don't know what Marbell's thinking, but I know she's the most powerful pawn and massive threat to you guys. Granville is the one that sits above Marbell. That's the interesting thing there. Glenda believes that Granville is still above Marbell, which makes sense because whenever Marbell is talking about, Granville is still the one that she's working for. She's still trying to fulfill what he wanted. The promise that she made him, the thing that he's still seeking, she's still trying to do that. But there's almost an element here where it almost feels like they're implying that Granville's controlling her. But it really does feel like there is more of an element of that she feels that there is this thing of the Rosso family that she wants to fulfill. So I'm kind of curious now. It feels like this episode is sort of tipping on an idea that Marbell doesn't have full control over herself, that her ambitions aren't her own. Which, yes, we kind of see a little bit into that when we have the little cut over to Marbell, who's talking to Yuki and Johan, basically pointing out the fact that this entire thing was a failure and that she underestimated Rimuru. But I think the interesting thing here is that she pushes on Johan, I want you to keep following Rimuru. That's why I had you go up against Gaban. And Johan, in his own self-preservation here, is going, if I fail, she's going to kill me. This is bad. It feels like he's trying to adjust what Marbell wants and trying to talk her into, let's just be friends with Rimuru. Because I know I'm going to fail if I have to go and do what you're having me do. This is not going to end well. Can I just get her to just work with this guy? And she doesn't accept it. He's like, no, it's fine. Rimuru seems like he wants to coexist. This is a good thing. He wants to follow our rules and our laws. It's a good thing. Why don't we want to just go ahead and work with him? Marbell doesn't want to accept this. Upon getting her side of this whole thing, it feels like she just doesn't want to accept that Rimuru is a peaceful guy. And it's hard to really follow here because she has seen firsthand that Rimuru was being kind of cool here. Like, we just did all this stuff, and she's seen through Gaban. I think it implied that she's seen through Gaban. She's seen Rimuru in action. This whole meeting was to see what kind of a person he was. So she should see that Rimuru was betrayed here, was disrespected, and in the end, he was peaceful. She should see that he seems like a cool guy. Even Johan's like, he seems cool. What are we doing here? She acknowledged that he has tremendous combat potential. He has a storm dragon at his side, but he's only now just following the rules. Eventually, he could possibly not. It basically implying that his negotiating powers are only going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and thus he's going to basically win by peaceful methods. I think what she's implying here is sort of, she's literally saying that Rimuru is me in my previous life. That's where I'm kind of going with this. I feel like she literally sees herself in Rimuru. That how she gained control in her story about her previous life before she isekai'd. It felt like she was an individual that was in the background, that was gaining power and military might and controlling everything with money and military might behind the scenes. And I think she sort of sees that Rimuru, based on her experience back there, and again, sort of acknowledging what she experienced with sort of our world, is that Essentially, Rimuru is somebody that will gain power through military might and claiming peace, but eventually getting to a point where nobody can ever deny him anything. And this is sort of what I was feeling about with Rimuru during the talks during this meeting, was that he's positioned in the best way possible, because if he is the military might, he will protect people and over time build his power more and more to the point where people can no longer say no to him. Individually, he can go around and say, I protected your nation. I need a little bit more. Oh yeah, we got you covered. Don't worry. You're safe. I need a little more. And eventually everybody will become so reliant on them for the power that they will be weak themselves and never be able to tell Rimuru no. So there's an element here where it's like Rimuru's coming in with peace talks and saying, don't worry, I'll protect you. But eventually he'll gain so much notoriety and continue to build power, and everybody becomes weaker to the point where they can no longer say no to him. I think she sees that. She sort of sees the same military powers of her previous world in Rimuru. She sees these big nations of her previous life that have a lot more power when talking to other nations because of the strength that they have. I think that's the route they're going with Marbell. I really do think that's where they're going with her. And that's something that somebody like Johan, who hasn't experienced her previous life, would ever be able to understand. But I think Rimuru might understand if she ever faces him and kind of divulges this. There's no reason for Marbell to trust Rimuru. Honestly, at this point, there's no reason for her to trust him. Again, to her, it's somebody that she can't control and somebody with immense power that she's not awarded in this world. But at the same time, there could have been an element, again, based on what she's saying with the whole idea of Rozo's dearest wish. There might be something that she's being controlled. This is somebody, again, that should be selfish in this world, but it feels like she's very dead set on fulfilling Granville's desires. Why is she so set on that? Is it just her time spent with Granville that she's actually attached to him and wants to fulfill this wish? Because it felt like early on, she was very selfish. Why is she so dedicated to what he wants? It's a good question mark. Anyways, that's my thoughts on the episode. Really solid episode. Looking forward to more as always. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video as always. If you did, hit the like button down below. Until next time, take care.